Well, hello, everybody. I'm Hal.
And I'm Melanie.
And we want to welcome you to another episode of Making Biblical Family Life Practical.
And tonight we're going to get really practical. We're going to talk about how do you teach your kids discernment? How do you teach them how to imbibe media through biblical lenses?
Did you watch the Academy Awards last week?
I did not.
I didn't either.
No interest.
No,
and I love movies. I love films. But it's just become a political thing, a political statement.
But, you know what? Media is all around us, and our kids are not going to be able to avoid it. Not that they really want to avoid it. And so we need to teach them how to process it like a Christian, because it's so easy to get bowled over by it.
Well, it is, and yet media changes culture. Media has changed culture throughout history. And we can look at so many times a book at the right time changed the world.
Yeah.
And so, given that, then we've got to teach our kids how to handle this right.
Well, you know what? An illustration I heard somebody say, they said, whenever there is a big revolution in media, in communications, two things happen. It's immediately used to communicate the gospel, and it's immediately used to broadcast pornography.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're talking about the printed word or you're talking about radio or movies,
film, or whatever.
Or streaming online. There's going to be fantastic stuff, and there's going to be stuff that you really need to avoid. And your kids need to understand that you need to teach them enough so that they're not caught by surprise, that they're not lured into traps, that they don't stumble into bad neighborhoods, but rather to say, I think that path goes a place that God would want me to follow.
Well, every time we talk about this, I think about Francis Schaeffer's book, Art in the Bible.
That is such a good resource.
Yeah, because he explains this in great detail. How do you look at art? There's a couple of things there. There's good art or bad art, and there's good message or bad message. We don't have much trouble recognizing bad art or bad message.
Yeah, when you're talking about bad art, you mean the skill of the artist.
Yeah, that
are they able to write?
Poorly done.
Can they write a coherent sentence? Can they tell a story? Can they handle the camera? I mean, are they doing good, art? But then the message, what are they communicating? Are they communicating well? But what are they communicating? And I think that's a really important thing because, just like Schaeffer was pointing out, as Christians, you want to be looking for supporting well executed art that gives a good message.
Good art with a good message, because and we don't have any problem recognizing that. Rembrandt. I mean, Rembrandt was amazing. It was a good message. Yeah, that's good art with a good message. Bad art, bad message. Oh, that's trash.
We recognize that. We know the trash.
Where we get messed up is bad art with a good message, where we tolerate badly done things because it's got a good message.
Yeah.
Or what is the really dangerous part is good art with a bad message.
Where you got a story which doesn't glorify God, which contradicts Scripture, which teaches immoral ideas, but the music is so good, or the special effects were just incredible.
Well, I see Christians all the time.
Yeah.
Talking about movies on social media and gushing over something or another, and I think, did they even pay attention? Because the message was horrible.
One of my teachers in high school, a very conservative older lady, she said she remembered hearing about one of the scandalous books in her younger years. I'm not even going to mention the title, but she said she was at the library one day and this prim older lady came walking in, and she very quietly slid that book across the circulation counter to return it, and the librarian said, "Why, Miss Jones, I never would have thought you'd be And she said, "Well, it was so beautifully written."
No.
You don't be that. Don't be that, Miss Jones.
Don't be that lady.
Don't be that.
Don't be the one that goes for that.
But we do get roped in too easily. So the question.
Well, we get roped in because media is addicting, and I said that the other day, and somebody kind of freaked out. They said, don't overplay. No, it really is physically addicting.
Okay.
Particularly if you are watching things that give you a reward of some kind. For example, porn or gaming, where you're having that excitement, the hormones flowing. that
Yeah.
your body becomes addicted to that, and it seeks more and more and more. And we know people who have had their lives derailed by just an internet addiction, not even gaming or gambling or porn, but
just the intellectual stimulus of like going down every little wormhole in Wikipedia. Yeah, that's something that you have to recognize the effect that the media is having on you. It's one of those things where there's so much good that can be communicated through media. You don't want to let the power for good be mishandled in your own life, and so I think that's one of the things, because I want our kids to be as innocent as doves, but as wise as serpents.
Yeah.
That they need to understand, like it says in Hebrews, I think it's chapter 5. In Hebrews, it says that the mature believer has learned to discern good from evil by means of exercising discernment. They've learned good and evil, and they recognize it. That doesn't mean you go chasing down all of those bad neighborhoods and revel in all the awfulness that's available, but rather to say, okay, here's a choice. This door leads someplace that looks pretty sketchy, and I think I know why. This door leads to a safer place, so let's choose the good door. And, recognizing that there are choices out there, our kids are going to be confronted with choices. How do we teach them to recognize where those doorways are, or what kind of pathway they may be walking on? That's the question we want to talk about.
Well, and the first thing is you just got to talk. You got to talk to them. I remember several years ago when Doctor Who was a big deal among the teens and 20s in our area.
Okay.
And a bunch of kids in our church were watching, and y'all, some of it is all right, some of it's terrible. And so
it's very mixed.
And so we thought this is a good opportunity, and invited a bunch of kids from our church to come over to our house, and we watched several episodes and discussed each of them. And what was fascinating to me is that all these kids, and I mean, these are kids raised in very self-consciously Christian homes. Homes where the parents are very intentionally discipling them.
Yeah. And
all the kids except my kids said, I've never had anybody talk to me like this about a movie. I've never discussed a movie like this. It's like, what?
It's almost as if there's a little box that we have isolated in our heads to say, this is the entertainment box, and it doesn't count.
It counts.
But it does. And see, that's just it. Christ is Lord of everything. The world is his, and that includes art and Hollywood and novels, and all of that belongs to the Lord. And so it's appropriate to say, I've got my biblical lenses on here. What does the Bible tell me about this particular entertainment? We're not talking about a whole genre, but it's just to say, this particular thing right here, this movie that I'm looking at, this episode of a series on TV, what is it communicating? Is it true?
So I've got an idea. Why don't we share with them the questions that we talk about with our kids?
Okay.
And then in the second half, let's apply this to a real movie that we've recently watched.
Well, sure. I got a couple we could do that. So, all right. So one of the things we do with our kids, well, first off is we watch things with them. We go places with them, And so if they want to see a movie, the new Marvel movie's coming out that, or there's something that they're interested in, one of us will go with them. If it's something, we do a little research. If it's something that's just obviously trash, we think,
and we're not saying we don't let our 16-year-olds go to the movies with us. That would be kind of crazy.
No.
But we love to go as a family. We love to go to the movies together. And in fact, a lot of times our teens and even 20s will say, hey, you want to go to the movies with me? Because they love to discuss it with us.
Oh, yeah. And so share media with your young people, whether you're watching it at home, whether you go to a theater, whatever you do, share the media, and then
talk about it.
And that's the key. It's not just say, wow, that was a fun movie. Okay, maybe it was fun, but what did the movie have to say? What does the story tell? What's the moral of the story that this movie or whatever was about? So
what kind of things do we talk about? We talk about what is the theme. Now, this is not what is the plot.
The plot is the story. It's just, tell me the story. Okay, yeah, but what is the story communicating?
What did the screenwriters and the director, what were they trying to get you to do or believe. And this is really the crux of the matter when you discuss this. You know, I remember one children's film that we saw that the theme of the movie was that business is bad, small business is terrible, family business is the worst. I'm like, we're a very entrepreneurial family. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing was basically like the world is like a living being, and it's more important than you people, human persons, you know.
And so we ask, what is the thing? What is it trying to teach you? And then let's look at the characterizations.
Now, see, that's an important thing, because characterization is how the author, the screenwriter, the actors, whatever, how they connect with you. That's how they say, okay, I'm playing a certain character. He has certain personality traits. He has certain motivations that maybe he's aware of, maybe he's not. How do I communicate that to you? How do I? And so as you watch this character being developed through the story, you connect with that person. And, you know, there's questions like, is this person motivated by good motivations, or are they selfish or evil motivations? You know, are they evil but cloaked in goodness on the outside?
You got to be careful about that, about moral inversions in characters.
Oh gosh, yes.
You got to be super careful where somebody who ought to be a good guy is a bad guy.
Or the opposite. All right. For example, I just saw a video on the rack at Walmart the other day. It was from one of these caper films. It was about a gang of jewel thieves or art thieves, a gang of thieves basically. But it was all very glamorous and upbeat and high tech and everything. But you know what? It's a movie about thieves. Is this good? Is it good to be looking at and cheering on these very likable criminals?
That's a moral inversion. And it's the technique used where they make a character so likable that you identify with them and you begin living their story with them until you're cheering them on in their evil. And you got to be super careful about that. I found myself doing that with a book I picked up in the lake one time and realized, that I really like this character. And I suddenly realized what she was about to do, and I'm cheering her on. I'm like, whoa, throw that away. You know, so you watch in characters, you watch for moral inversions, you watch for, is justice done? There's going to be bad things that happen. The greatest story of all started with men sinned, And
that's a key thing, because in a fallen world, any realistic story is going to have to deal with problems of sin.
It's going to be evil.
Whether it's selfishness, whether it's theft, whether it's some sort of sin. Now, what happens with that? Do they just find an elaborate way to get away with it, or is there justice that's done at the end, or is there a change in the? And
is there redemption?
When you see a character who changes during the course of the story, start out like, okay, good example. If the original Iron Man movie, Tony Stark is a jerk. He's a big playboy, and he's a lover, and he's awful. But you see, as he goes through the story, things change in his life, and he starts to see other people, and he starts to be concerned about others.
Until by the end of the Avengers, he was willing to give his life to protect the city.
And so you see that redemption aspect. That's an important part of at the start. You say,
is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? Is it historical fiction? Because there are different things you need to look for in each of those genres. In historical fiction, is it true to history?
Oh gosh, so many times that people want to take a historical situation and tell a modern melody tale from it. But it's not. That's not accurate, because that's not the way they thought. That's not what motivated people in those years.
And science fiction, I watched some science fiction this week that was actually really good. But science fiction has a problematic worldview because it seems to attract people who want to create a world with their own laws and not God's laws.
Speaking of law, somebody observed that detective stories and police procedurals and that
love
those actually, it's a pretty good genre, because it all depends on the existence of right and wrong, good and evil. And ultimately, there's stories about justice being done, about good persons coming to defend the righteous, to defend the innocent, to bring justice for those who've been wronged in some way. That's most of those stories, the traditional type anyway, are fairly good storyline. You know.
Yeah, and
so ask yourself about different genres like that.
And finally, ask how the director or the screenwriter brought the theme. What do they use? Characterization, setting, genre. What different ways did they drive that theme home?
Oh, okay. So now you're talking about the art of it again,
right? Because that draws back the curtain. You know, you see a magician do something, you go, "Wow, that was amazing." Then he tells you how he did it, and you go,
"Okay." Classic Casablanca, the Humphrey Bogart film. If you watch Casablanca, it's a fascinating story, not the story, but if you watch the movie, Rick, the good guy, the hero is always in a beam of light. Even if he's in a dark room, there's light coming through the window shades. He's the only thing that's lit up.
And the bad guy is always in shadow.
He's always shadow. And so that's the director's little clue. Good guy, the good guy wears a white hat. The good guy standing in a beam of light.
And this is a huge thing for your kids, because when they begin to see the art and understand how they're being manipulated, they will not be as easily manipulated.
You bring to their attention, and I know we're going to break just a second, but we'll make this one last.
Okay.
Bring to their attention what the music is doing. How did they communicate what's happening on the screen? How did they set the emotional tone with the music? And it's really funny if you ever see something where the music's not correct.
Yes.
Or the music's not right. There was a movie done about the hijacking of United 93 during 9/11 many years ago. The composer that did the soundtrack said he had to really work hard to tone down the emotions of it because it was so wrenching. So he said he had to really very intentionally kind of be comforting with the music rather than build it up. But look, speaking of building up, we need to build up something here.
Yes. We want to invite you to come check out craftsmancrate.com.
Mm-hmm.
That is our subscription box.
Mm-hmm.
The subscription box that builds your skills. It teaches you artisanal skills, real life, adult skills that you use for hobbies the rest of your life.
Oh, we've had things like we had a box to teach wood carving. We had a box to
calligraphy.
Teach calligraphy. We've got a really neat one coming out this month. And so if you want to know some more about this, and trust me, you want to know some more about this, go to craftsmancrate.com and you can find out all about it there.
Yes.
Okay.